Hi, everybody. So this last week, you took some time to look over those dummies articles. Now, the dummies articles are a great place to go to for an example of what effective instructional documents can look like, because the people who write those books are experts in their subject, and then they are working with a company which is very experienced in producing this kind of teaching documents. So what I would like to do is walk you through an example of one of those dummies chapters myself and point out some of those elements from the Elements of Style worksheet, and especially the presentation. And the two work together because, for example, in the worksheet I have a few questions about content, but if you're unclear what I mean by content, the presentation in the Unit 2 packet specifies exactly. So let me walk you through a few examples from this chapter that's open on the screen in front of you. It's called Fitness for Dummies, Walking Tall, Chest, Abdominals, and Lower Back. So we'll begin with content. Now, content, what you're looking at is the stuff of the piece of writing. So anything that delivers information or support. Content-wise, then, looking at the beginning of this article, we begin with background. Now, why would you have background up front? Well, the dummies people are writing for people who define themselves as being dummies, very new to whatever topic they're reading about. So they're not going to assume that you know very much. You can tell from the language, which we'll get to in just a bit, that they expect people to read English and to probably have at least a high school education, maybe a bit more, but at least a high school education, because they're not. They're common words, but they're not very simple words. It's clearly not written for children. And so what you see here is some key information to get us going. Definition of the core here. The core is a virtual powerhouse of strength. A little bit of background on this person's philosophy. I would say that the no pain, no gain expression applies best to this chapter. Telling you that, listen, coming up you're going to expect to do some work, and it might not be it might be a little bit painful. And this is very important. There's a warning here. This is one of the kinds of information being provided in this document. You will see there are step-by-step instructions, there are definitions, and also warnings and troubleshooting tips and suggestions. You notice that this is broken out. This is an organizational technique, but this is actually broken out from the body with a symbol next to it so you don't miss it. Scrolling down, let's check out a few other types of information here. Man from horse. Additional information that is helping you to understand or determine whether or not your core is strong, whether or not you have posture issues, for example. Now notice again, it is extra information, so visually, and this goes to organization, visually, it's marked out in this little gray box. So it is additional information, but it is useful information. But it's not something you have to read in order to understand what is going on in these instructions. Now again, we get into background information introducing the workout. Down here, the chest workout itself, giving you background, building up a tip. This is what I was talking about above, additional information which is useful to you. And now, broken out the specific steps for the workout, plus diagrams and images. And these, again, count as a kind of content. Okay? And at the very end, do's and don'ts. So anything, one thing I just remembered from up here, in fact, if you visualize yourself with an invisible cord running from your chest up to the sky or a tree, you'll know why I call this section Man from Horse. My dance teacher made this reference over and over in ballet class, and after I saw the movie starring Richard Harris, I got it. What you've got here with the story about the movie from Richard Harris, you've got an example. That's one of those kinds of content that you've mentioned. Imagining yourself with an invisible cord going from your chest up to the sky or the tree, that's an example of a metaphor. It's giving a comparison that helps clarify what they're trying to teach. So those are two other types of content here. Organization-wise, the organization refers to the sequence of ideas and then anything in the format that helps clarify what you're talking about. So here at the beginning, this breakout list, that's organization. Format-wise, it's got these little checks in front of each item. This gives the reader a visual overview of what's going to be handled in the chapter. Sequence of ideas, background. Formatting, visual cues, the warning being stepped out from the rest of the information, and some sort of indication that this is a warning, a visual cue that this is a warning. We saw that with the tip as well. This is formatting, this gray box, so that is organization. These headings and subheadings, separating out all the information, that is organization. This tip, marking out, first of all, separating the tip out, making sure the tip comes where it is most relevant. Here we're talking about floor push-ups with the ball. The tip comes right before you start doing the workout, because if we're telling you to keep your lower legs or shins on the ball, we need to know that before we get into the steps. The numbered list, this speaks to organization. Putting some of the items in boldface with extra information in regular font, that's organization. Again, format is organization because it helps guide the reader through your material that you're trying to teach them. Okay, white space, all of that. And again, remember, do's and don'ts. The choice of checks here for this list here, the fact they've got check marks. Why? Because this is a checklist, things to do, things not to do. So visually, the readers are given information that helps support instruction. So that comes down to organization. The italics here comes down to organization. Language-wise, what you want to look at is tone and attitude. Attitude is going to be very positive. They want you to feel good about what you're doing. So up here, they talk about getting you the right frame of mind, encouraging you to do well. The tone, if you read it, it is not incredibly serious. The informality of the tone is supported by one thing right here you can see, which is actually organization. It's relatively informal because we have these short paragraphs. There's a little bit of humor here. Even this title up here, Man from Horse, exclamation point. That's not the kind of thing you would see in a medical journal, for example. Attitude positive, tone relaxed positive, even a little bit of humor. Language, if you look over the language very carefully, you will see that it is all common words that a fairly educated adult would know. So we'd call this a general population, aimed at the general population, people with a high school education, with any additional terminology defined. So the muscles along your spine called, and I'm not even going to try the Latin, the multifidus, I did try it, muscles. What does that do? Before you read this term you don't know, up here you've got the definition. So the word choice, again, is appropriate for the audience. And the most important thing for instructional documents is to make sure that you define words your audience won't know. So if you want to revisit your dummies article after looking at this, this will give you exactly, very specifically, the sorts of things you might consider doing with your own instructional document to make it more effective. And now that we've discussed this and looked at these examples, I kind of expect to see some of this in your instructional document. You will find this Fitness for Dummies article in the Unit 2 packet right below this presentation. So take a look, and of course, as always, I'm here if you've got any questions.